Cruz, the editor-in-chief of Rogue magazine. Thank you for joining us today. We will be talking about the idea of stories, from idea to conception to production. With us today is a very esteemed panel featuring David Guerrero, Erik, Matti, and Chiara Zambrano, who's on her way from Marami. Legend. Traffic lang. Was it too soon? Sorry. Okay, but before anything else, I just want to do an introduction of Rogue, for those who aren't familiar with the brand. So, basically, Rogue is an award-winning lifestyle magazine. It started 10 years ago, July. So we're celebrating our 10th anniversary this year. Rogue covers everything from entertainment, culture, current affairs, business, and politics. And over the last 10 years, it has been synonymous to world-class journalism, powerful photography, and breathtaking design. This year, with our 10th anniversary, we want to celebrate with the goal that we had all those years ago, which is to publish the very best stories, whether on print, online, or on air. And with that, I'd like to welcome you to this year's Rogue and National Bookstore Readers and Writers Festival. I'd like to introduce two of our panelists today. First, we have David Guerrero. He is the Chief Executive Officer and the man behind BBDO Guerrero, the first Philippine agency ever to be ranked among the world's top 50 agencies based on the Gun Report, a global ranking of creative agencies. You may know them through their Labels Against Women campaign for Pantene, and more recently, It's More Fun in the Philippines, and Photo Fails tourism campaigns. In 2014, Campaign Asia named David as its Southeast Asia Creative Person of the Year. And outside work, he takes pride in following English football with much gusto. And fun fact is that he survived a snake bite during a trip in Thailand. He's done it all. Next, we have Erik Matti, who began his directorial career with Scorpio Nights 2 back in 1998, and went on with a prolific rhythm in a very wide range of films, from action, horror, and comedy. His reputation for being the master of the genre is not only known in his home country, as most of his films, such as On the Job, Honor Thy Father, Tic Tac Aswang Chronicles, most recently Seclusion, have reached foreign shores and were screened in numerous festivals around the world. Pretty soon, you'll see his next movie, By Bus, and Darna, sooner rather than later. And with that, I'd like to begin the panel. But before that, please give our panelists a round of applause. So before Chiara gets here, just want to get to know the two of you in the early stages of your career. I'd like to ask both of you, did you always want to be in the field that you're in, with David in advertising and Erik in film?
Actually, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I started at the letter A. Accountancy, agriculture, and so architecture. Then I went back to look at advertising because it was still in the air. It was a difficult thing to find something that you could do anywhere in the world. And I grew up in England and I wanted to work here, so have to find something I could do. So yeah, and that was the least qualifications that were needed.
Was there any inkling that you could be in advertising? Like the idea of those, like, would you think of campaigns in your head when you were growing up, or anything like that, or slogans?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you grow up. I mean, people say that when the older they get, they remember these jingles from their past. You still hear these songs in your head. So yeah, definitely, I grew up with a lot of advertising, and then when I was growing up, I started to see advertising being used in political campaigns more. That's what got me interested. I got interested in the idea that you don't just have to sell products, but you can sell ideas. And I think that's the transformation that the industry has made. It's gone from being a very narrow thing about selling, soap powder, ice cream, whatever. It still does that, but now it also sells, choices. It sells attitude, it sells ideas, and that's now, I think, why it's become a really relevant industry in this age, in the digital age.
Erik?
I I, I'm from Bacolod. I'm Ilonggo. And I've been studying for 6 years and can't seem to finish college. I was into theater for, uh, for since the first year of college. And I just wanted to branch out into something I'm more interested in, which is films. I've done theater, but mostly I realized that the things I've done in theater were mostly more towards cinematic stuff and not really very theatrical. And when the opportunity came that I was offered to work in Manila, not even knowing how much I'm gonna get paid, I moved to Manila 1993, and I worked my way up from continuity down to assistant director, production manager. I went through all the positions. I did edit supervisions. I did line production for certain movies. I mostly worked for one director, which is Peke Galiaga. I had an opportunity to work outside, but I chickened out. So I just ended up working with the ones I'm comfortable with. So I became a director in 1998. And from then on, I went into advertising 2005 because I figured into I fight with a lot of people. Okay, so I was in contract with Viva for 8 pictures, and they were asking me to do another movie. I didn't want to do the movie, and that was the start. And then they didn't give me any movie, so I started working outside, and then we got into a lawsuit. They want me back to Viva. I wasn't working for a year and a half, 2 years, and so my only option was advertising. So I went into
Last resort.
Huh?
Last resort.
Last resort. I remember my first meeting in advertising was in Greenbelt 1, Starbucks. I was with a production house, and together with the meeting is Sid Madalaso and me. And
Do you remember the brand or the product?
I started doing Q&Rs. David would know this. The quick and roughs of the PNG. What it happened? It's an interesting idea. I came from the movies already. I did Scorpio. I probably had 4 movies already. Petro Penduko. So I was trying to break into advertising, and they were getting me. Leo Burnett was getting me to do quick and roughs. What that does is you're paid really low. You do an ad that they've storyboarded in India or in Singapore, the Thai commercials, but the ones you're gonna do will not be shown. You will constantly keep on changing it until the test results become above average. And what happens is, if you nail the edit for that ad, you will not do it. It will be sent to Henry Frejas or to the ones who will
We've never done that kind of thing.
Huh?
We've never done that.
Yeah, but you know about that, right? I know. Yeah, that's the quick and rough. So I started there.
I all knowledge of this.
And
I'm sure it happens.
yeah,
Yes.
and it's I did that for maybe 2 years before I got my first Thai commercial.
You sort of answered it a bit, but I guess I want to ask the both of you again. The big break in your career, like those first few years, and how important that big break of a project was for both of you.
Well, I mean, the first big break was just getting a job at all, you know. I got my first job actually in London. That's where I grew up, and I offered to work for a week for free. or actually for the price of the bus fare. That got me, the mailer got me a job, and then unfortunately it only got me a job for a week, and then I had to start again. I think it was 2 weeks, but yeah. Then I've always felt like the big breaks have been getting jobs. I got a job in Hong Kong, kind of just by turning up, and it's like Woody Allen says, 90% of success is turning up, and just if you're there, they need someone, you go. And then here, I think, I really wanted to work here, and then it's quite difficult to come in here. But again, I ended up being on a short list of one because I needed somebody who was at least part Filipino and who had been trained abroad. And it was like there's only one person on that list.
What was the position? Was it a copywriter or?
It was actually to come in as creative director at Ogilvy. That was my break coming in here. That was in '95, so that was when I came. And yeah, I've just been really lucky, actually, to be honest. It's luck, being in the right place at the right time, meeting a peculiar set of requirements that only you can fill. So yeah, so it's been that, I think, in terms of getting jobs.
When you got to the Philippines at first few years, how was the transition from working in London or Hong Kong and then here?
Yeah, I think Hong Kong was like a halfway house to here. I mean, it still had this Englishness about it, but it was really Asian and really sort of hectic and rushed. I think so. Coming here, I actually wanted to be as I was really worried about getting stuck in traffic, so I tried to live as close to the office as possible. And I was kind of, it was really exciting coming here and really great to work with lots of really talented people. It's like a dream come true, actually. And then then it started. Some realities started setting in as well, but it's always been a really exciting thing.
And with Eric, you mentioned briefly about working with Peke Galiaga when you were starting out. How was that like, being more behind the scenes and assisting everyone rather than being the head of your projects?
I think most of when I started directing, most of the things I learned came from Peke, and I think it's how it is when you're mentored by someone who also works in advertising. So you get and the best way if you want to be a filmmaker, the best way to study a filmmaker is really become an assistant director. Because you're constantly talking to the director, not the assistant directors who are freelancers, but assistant directors who are exclusive to a particular filmmaker. Because I worked with Galiaga since 1993 and got my break 1998, so that's practically 5 years of just assisting him on everything. Whenever he does commercials, I also go with him in advertising. I think he's the only director then who is not paid just as a director. He's paid with his staff with him. So he packages the entire commercial for himself. And I got my break 1998. Also in Greenbelt 1. Also in Greenbelt 1, I received a pocket bell, a beep, and he said, I have good news, come to Lori's house. Peke has a partner in directing, Lori Reyes. Come to Lori's house. So I called up on the phone and I said, I'm in Makati, I can be there maybe less than an hour. And he said, okay. So when I got there, he told me Viva offered him to do, he got a deal with Viva to keep on doing films only for 5 million pesos. That's the total budget. You can do whatever you want with the film, only for 5 million pesos. The first 2 movies already bombed. at the box office. So maybe they're trying to back out from the deal already. So they were looking for a way to get their money back. So they said, why don't you do a sequel to Scorpionites, to Peke? And Peke said, you know, I'm old. I've used up all my ideas about sex in the first one. Maybe you need some young guy to do it. And I haven't met any of the Viva guys. He just said, okay, I have an assistant director, let's give him a break. So that's how I got the first one.
David, do you have any mentors growing up or being at the start of your career?
Yeah, I guess there was the guy who hired me for the job here was an English creative director called Neil French, and he was an infamous but highly talented guy who would inspire terror and admiration in equal measure. I mean, when he used to come to visit Manila, some people used to hide under the table until he was gone. You know, probably 3 days. But, yeah, so he was a big mentor in that way, and I think it was like I used to fax him things. These days of fax, I used to fax it. To come back, scribbles all over it, you know, fax it again. So you know, it was someone who I respected, and someone who taught me a lot. It's an industry where there's still not a lot of stuff that is written down, or still not a lot of things that are very easily conveyed unless you do it day by day, you know, in practice. It's kind of not an easy industry to theorize about. You have to do it, and then you have to do it again, and you keep doing it, and essentially just don't give up. That's the main thing about it.
Was that the biggest advice that you got during your early part?
Yeah, I think just you know, continuing. I mean, not giving up on things. You know, continuing to do things is pretty. You know, was pretty much the kind of reality of what I think. Experienced.
Before that, let's give Chiara a round of applause.
You made it.
From morale.
So it's perfect, so we just started the conversation, and we've asked already Eric and David the early parts of their career. Maybe you'd like to share how you fell in love with journalism and how you started.
Okay, I do not do what I just did. Okay. Anyway, at the early start, I didn't know really what a journalist was growing up. I've told this story to some students when I give talks. Before I thought I wanted to be a marine biologist because I'd get to watch. Kasi may mga kapitbahay kaming mayaman na may cable. And yung mga National Geographic documentaries is Sir David Attenborough. So, that's fancy stuff. So I think I want to be that guy, si doctor, whatever, some whatever scientist. Kasi I was hooked, I was fascinated. But then I realized that I sucked at math and science. And I carried that dream until college sa application form ng Ateneo. It kind of tells you that this course requires you to be this kind of student. You have to be good at this and that, and I was good at none of the stuff that I needed to be good at in order to be a marine biologist. So scratch that. So I just sat myself down and asked myself, what is it about that you really wanted? And then I realized that, you know, after I leave the neighbor's house and I go back to our own house, I just remembered I like writing stuff down. From diaries, na kakainis si kuya, medyo pogi yung whatever. It's parang, it does make me feel good. So I just realized that baka it wasn't the marine biology after all. It was actually the story of the biologists, of the sharks and the whales and the animals. So parang nag-click na that was it. It was the writing and the storytelling. So I took up EBCom, communication and yun. There wasn't a real straight path. You just follow your gut feel or things you think you feel like doing. So I ended up here following that kind of instinct so far.
And post-graduation, how was it for you those early years? Especially with like after siguro maybe a few months the novelty of that first feeling of being a journalist, parang set in, parang reality set in. How was doing the grind from years?
So, medyo booming time na yung pamilya ko na may internet na kami. So, hindi ako natutulog. It's a mail ba? It's a mail! Yeah! Hardcore. So, mga 3 a.m.
You want to know?
IRC ba yun? ASL. I think, pero mga madaling araw yun eh. Tapos yung mga some random ad na nagpa-pop up. Tapos parang, would you like to be a part of ABS-CBN? Oh, not necessarily. Pero parang novelty eh. I'm click everything I see. And tapos, yun. Tapos parang, it was an invitation to be part of, to be trained in either production or news. Ayun naman, parang you kind of feel that gut, parang okay to So, sabi niya, just bring a resume at 8 a.m. Today? Okay, sige. Dating ako sa ABS, naka-board shorts, kasi mountaineer ako, it's yung mojos na may, yung tropical, yung strap, tapos naka-puka shells. Pero may resume ako, tapos yung ang haba ng pila na naka-power dress. Oh, I did not think this through. Ganyan. Tapos diretso na may exam, may parang mock interview and stuff. Sorry. Yun, so, you may cringe for me. It is a cringe-worthy moment. But, siguro, I Ateneo'd my way through it. Yeah, the Ateneo way, magic. So, I made it. Pero and then the group was asked, out of the thousands, we ended up, I think, 10. Puka shells! So, we were asked, gusto mo bang mag-news reporter or mag-producer? So, I really just wanted to write and do documentaries. Yung being on camera and wearing fancy clothes and putting makeup on it's not fun for me. I still really don't. I YouTube my way through foundation and powder and stuff. Okay. So yun, I started with documentaries and I loved it and I still love it, which is mamaya siguro kwento ko na I'm gonna be leaving for a while to study that again. And that was it. It was just so much fun to, number one, explore and experience and learn. I'm sure, ang dami nang nagta-travel ngayon because of the budget is. Diba yung how fascinating the simplest stories are from the weirdest people or yung mga pinaka-random na manong at manong na nakasulat. That's what I do for a living. And it's fun. It's hard, syempre, but it's fun. So far, it's a love-hate relationship. Half the time yung iniisip mo, bakit ito ginawa mo? But most of the time, it's slow clap for me.
I asked the two of them kanina, pero do you have any mentor when you started? Like any interesting experiences you had? Ano yung mga biggest advice na nakuha mo from your mentor?
Kasi I started with a show called The Correspondence. So, they never really stepped up and said, I will take you under my wing, child, and you will learn the ways and you will learn it. They just, like sila Edlingao, sila Abner Mercado, they would just go their merry way. And the thing about them is, they weren't very arrogant na, huwag mo palapitin sa kanyang batang yung istorbo. Puro, bakit ko yung bundok, sama ka? Yes, I'm a mountaineer. I'll have you know. So parang medyo naaliw sa akin na parang sino ba tong batang tong nagbo-board short sa ABS-CBN? At biglang pag inaya mo sa bundok, mas marami pang gear sa'yo. Ganun. And then yung yung mentorship nila just came out very naturally. They were the guys who taught me not just how to tell stories, but why we should keep telling stories, especially when people are making it hard for you to tell the stories. They're the ones who taught me how to do it right. Hindi lang yung pagalingan, pero yung the ethics of it. Yung kung paano ka wag magsisinungaling, wag manloloko, at kung gaano ka-tempting magsinungaling, magpaloko at manloko. So, kahit na, well, they have no idea na they had such a big influence on me. Kasi, well, nahiya din ako aminin. Pero, anyway, yeah. And then I would, kasi they made me start from yung lowest talagang yung timpla ng kape level na, sabi na, sige, ikaw mag-label ng mga tapes. Dali naman ito. Hindi ko na-realize na parang 8 taon na yung correspondence kasi wala pang na-label na tape. Episode 1. Ano pa, yung tape parang yung ganun kakapal. Ganun, no? Parang 2 palapag ng tape. Yung mga Matti. Hintik na boy, tagyan. Basta ko lahat yan. Tapos, so hindi ako umuwi, obviously, dahil dami. Tapos nakakasikip sa office, so every time dadating sila, parang, tapos yun. Later. Okay, sige. So you just, you take what you're given. So, apart from labeling tapes, that also means that I had access from episode 1 to episode yesterday. And I had access to the episode guides. So, pinili ko lahat. Episode 87, 65, yan. Tapos pinanood ko kasi madaling araw ako nalang natira sa ABS-CBN Sa lahat ng machine akin. So inaral ko yung techniques nila na si Abner, 3 seconds bago siya magsalita ulit after ng huling hininga ng interview. So, serious ako. Alam ko yun yung rules. 3 seconds, pause before. Alam ko may formula, pero pulso-pulso lang pala. Pero, yun, they had no idea that they were already teaching me just because they gave me the chance to label their tapes and watch as much as I wanted.
My next my next question, I guess, for all three. You're all in different fields, pero it's really, at the essence, is storytelling. So I want to ask yung process niyo each. How do you, think of an idea? How does it turn into the final product?
Yeah, so that idea of obsessively checking everything and studying everything, that's pretty familiar to me. I can relate to that. I think that we all look at everything, but I think the idea is only the beginning. Somehow everyone can have ideas. It's the execution of the idea that makes the difference. It's actually, can you work through all the details and the convincingness and the authenticity of it, especially a piece of fiction, like novel or something you're making up, comes from, do you actually believe the detailed story and can you work it through? So I think everyone thinks they have an idea, but it's actually doing it and then getting paid for it is probably the real challenge. Especially now, since everybody can, there's zero kind of barriers to entry for anyone with a phone can be a filmmaker. Anyone with a laptop can be a journalist. Anyone with a with access to the net can be in advertising, frankly. But it's can you do it usefully and relevantly, and will somebody pay you for it? I think that's probably still kind of defining barrier for a lot of things. And, I think that's the both the kind of good and the bad thing about the internet is that you now have this open access to everyone, but actually all this kind of the disappearance of any kind of gatekeeping, so that all kinds of stuff can just come out there. with things like fake news and everything like that, which is just coming, which is, you know, everything we're working in is changing, and we don't really quite know where we're going. But yeah, in terms of going back to the question about ideas, it's about the execution, it's the making of it. That's the difference.
I can't get to, except for, there's only one writer that I'm working with where I don't dare really touch the material, because when you touch one part of the material, everything else changes. And I started working with her late in my career. My problem as a storyteller is that I jam in so many ideas into it, and that maybe the journey is as important as the destination. So there's just so many ideas that you get lost. My earlier films, I've only done one. I've only done one commission work, and I'm lucky to still stay alive in the industry. Meaning, commission work that a producer approaches you and tells you, here we have material, go and do it. So I was able to do Manopo through that. I did a sequel for Manopo because the original director wasn't available, Joel Amangan. But then the rest of my projects, I usually become part of it as somebody who initiates the story, who thinks up of all the plot lines, and almost always the structure is a mess. But it makes sense to me, so that's the problem. So you do it anyways. And while you're doing it, you're constantly rewriting it. And I realized up to now, I'm doing bypass with Anchor This, and I'm still rewriting everything on the set. I have a writer, but I keep on rewriting and rewriting, and figuring things out on the fly, on the set. Maybe because you really want it to go somewhere, and somehow the structure just doesn't allow you to do it. So you're, of course, the watch out really is also not forcing the direction of the story towards where you want it, even if the story isn't, even if it's not organic anymore. So the challenge there is to really keep the story organic as much as possible. And that's tough. It's easier said than done to stay organic in the story, but it's really hard to stay on the ball and focus on it. Working with Michiko Yamamoto is different, because when you change one part of her script, you're sure that it's gonna affect the whole thing, and you know that she's figured it out and you haven't. So I mean, sometimes you comment based on cinematics. You get what I mean? Most directors don't comment on on characters, they just comment in terms of how they want to see the scene happen. And sometimes when you force the story towards that, it changes the whole thing. And a lot of times directors just I want my one shot, 4-minute take of people running towards the building, etc., etc., even if the story doesn't ask for that, and you're forcing the story to integrate all of that. So the balance is that you need to find that balance as a storyteller.
How do I come up with my ideas? Well, for news, the world comes up with ideas for me. You don't really, parang yung kasabihan yung when you're in news, you can't choose. kahit na baduy ka sa isang road accident or domestic dispute, if you're the nearest guy there, you're gonna have to take that story and you're gonna have to listen to all the characters involved in that story. Pero, yung a lot of journalists can't take that, so they end up leaving, shifting careers kasi some think na parang masyadong mababaw naman itong coverage na to. Ang babaw na naman ang lineup ng TV Patrol, CCTV, saksakan, sapakan, ganyan. Oo. Sunog. Lalo na yung pag may pinagtrabahuan kang investigative na 2 linggo mong pinanabaho, tapos tatanggalin sa lineup kasi may nasunog eh. Tapos, hindi nakikita yun. Ivans ko? Walang ganun. But, yun, that sucks, but that's reality. Kasi ang TV Patrol, hindi mga mayayaman ng audience namin. It's the simple people. Yung tawag na, meron kaming imaginary audience na representative of them all. So, kasama siya sa mga story ko, sa planning, post-mortem. Oo, ano pa kanya, aling barang dyan. So, minsan parang, wala, hindi niya bibitawan yung plancha niya, or wala, magluluto pa rin siya ng sinigang, kasi story niya, it doesn't interest her. It doesn't scare her. It doesn't think, she doesn't think that it's gonna affect her and her 20 apples who are running around with their tiny shanty. Ganun. So the challenge for us, for me, if I wanna stick around and do this well, is to yung wag mo i-deny yung trip ni Aling Barang. Siya yan eh. Siya yung manonood sa'yo eh. Intindihin mo siya. Bakit ba trip ni Aling Barang yung mga CCTV story na may, nung isang araw, exclusive, may ninakawan ng manok. Tapos kulay sa CCTV. Kasi parang, ito ba ito? Ganda to nga. So, di ba, syempre, as an admin, I'm like, what? Come on, di ba? Hindi ka pwedeng gano'n kung ikaw ay taga-news sa Pilipinas. Intindihin mo bakit yan tinaas sa lineup. Kasi alam nung nagpipila ng storya kung bakit. It's because sila rin may alaga na nandun lang sa labas ng kalsada. At worry nila yan na parang pa may kumuha ng panabong ko, yung may tupada na bukas. May utang pa ako doon sa Bombay na, di ba? Oras na ng singilan. Ganon, you have to be humble and understanding because parang kami for journalists, you're communicating. It's not a Chiara Zambrano show na if you don't like my art, change the channel. Hindi pwedeng change the channel on me, I lose my job. Diba? So una, intindihin mo yun. Anong kailangan ni Barang? For news ito Pero ano yung tingin kong kailangan matutunan ni Barang? Ano yung tingin kong mahalaga na hindi pa niya alam na pwede ko ituro sa kanya? And then you speak her language. Diba? Halimbawa, yung mga war stories, pakialam ni Aling Barang sa gera sa butig, Lanao del Sur. Hindi niya alam sa yung Lanao del Sur, much less yung butig. At malayo yun sa mga alaga nilang tandang sa labas. Hindi na nakawin ng Mountain Group yung manok. Okay. Pero sa tingin ko, kailangan ni Aling Barang malaman na mayroon ng mga terorista sa Pilipinas na kumakalat na meron na silang plano sa labas ng butig at malay natin sa eskinita niyang katabi. So you have to find something truthful and honest enough that will make her care and make her drop her sandok and say, terorista pala. Okay, yes. Mag-move on din naman siya eventually. Hintay rin yung mga apo niyang gutom. Pero if you just yun yung parang yung goal ko for just a minute or 2 minutes if I just make them all stop doing what they're doing and just listen. Kasi ano na yun babaon na yun Hindi naman nila kailangan dibdibin hanggang gabi na, oh no, may terrorism in the Philippines. That's not your goal. But just to plant the seed na Aling Barang, meron tayong problema. So, baka may maitulong ka. Baka kailangan mo lang tandaan ito. And for documentaries, you get the chance to be a little more creative. But it's still the same thing. You parang I can't do a documentary about some fancy art exhibit in Europe and expect people to watch it. Because it has nothing to do with us. And a lot of Filipinos don't have the time to appreciate paintings, much less understand. Parang, di ba, madalas pag may mga complex artwork, ang sabihin lang ng Pinoy, kaya ko yun.
Kaya ng anak ko.
Yun. Okay, hindi tingnan yung presyo. Parang, 100,000! Eh, sinabuyan lang na, di ba? Ganon. Kung ano rin yun. Parang, yun tayo eh. So, parang, you pick your battles. Yung kami yung journalists, we're in a pretty good position to know things now we should all be knowing. And we're in a pretty good place to be teaching, parang kami teachers on TV. Pero, yun nga, humility, again, understand what they want, and then just balance it out and speak their language.
Over the years, you've experienced so many things in your different fields. But I want to ask, what are the common mistakes that you see in how you do your work, maybe within the industry? What are the things that you notice are things that can be avoided, things that your respective industries can learn from?
Personal doesn't always work. If a lot of us, and I've made that mistake. You come up with a story and then you say it's so personal to me, you know. Pero a lot of times, if you're not aware of who you're telling it to, or just thinking whether someone would be interested in that story, then most probably you'd end up with something that doesn't, that is not relevant to anyone. And I made that mistake. I did when I went to advertising in 2004, and then I really wanted to go back to doing films. So I produced a personal movie out of my own money, and never showed it. I showed it only once in CCP. Invited like 500, 600 people. Handwritten an invite, medyo cheesy, pero handwritten. Oo, hindi. Sinirox ko lang. It's a personal letter, gano'n. Pero on hindsight, I realized, number one, it felt so personal to me, pero sobrang nipis ng kwento. But because I was so close to the story that I didn't realize there were not enough layers on it. It wasn't as complex as it should be. And at the same time, I also realized with that film that I get bored with two people talking in a scene. And it's because resources dictated that. I was trying to keep the story small, and I mean, I'm the one spending for it, so I thought, siyempre, fans din tayo ni Woody Allen. Minsan nakala mo, yes, masaya siguro gawin to. But then when you're there, I realized I'm not for like two people talking and then let it unfold. And feeling ko yun yung malaking problema kung puro personal. And that's, I think, is the problem also with the independent cinema. Now, we've been here, 12 years na, ever since Cinemalaya started. Of course, independent cinema was way before that, but yung parang naging kilala siya ng mga tao was when Cinemalaya started. And hindi pa natin na-push yung sustainability ng indie cinema, mainly because everyone's just interested in, I want to tell my own story. Fuck you, hindi nyo mapanood, hindi nyo maintindihan ko. Importante sa akin to, di ba? And then, pag napalabas na, no one's interested to share it to as many audiences, as wide an audience. No? So, mahirap, parang parang paulit-ulit, back to zero lagi yung indie cinema. And of course, distribution is a problem.
No, there are so many mistakes. We see them all the time on TV. I think the main thing is to, like I say, you believe your own bullshit. That's obviously a bad thing. I think, and the antidote to that is to just work harder than you think you need to, and get us, ask for criticism, not for praise. Get people to look at it. And also, I mean, the other problem you see a lot is playing it too safe. People think that the way to success is just to do what's been done before, and that'll be a safe thing. And actually, people don't really want to see the same idea over and over again. There's a certain comfort in a formula, but you need to always push some element of originality and authenticity. So I think that's, I don't know, I think the thing is to research the hell out of what you're doing. Make sure that you really understood the whole context of it, and look for ways to innovate in there. I can't get into too many mistakes because I'll probably offend a ton of people, but that's the ones I can think of right away. I like the idea of what you were saying about you're rewriting your movie while you're on it. Wasn't that the guy from Saturday Night Live said it doesn't go out because it's finished, it goes out because it's 10:30 on Saturday night. And you kind of think that the deadline, down to the deadline can be your lifeline. You have the fact that you have a deadline is going to make the thing happen. It's going to make
editing
it.
Music, you're still changing the story. Right?
I think like with news, the deadline is always pretty immediate, right? It's not going to, you can't have the rewrite on the news, right? It's happening, and you've got to follow somebody else, or somebody else is coming out with it somewhere else.
Yeah.
We can be a bit more indulgent, I think, advertising. That's what
Both of us.
The deadline kind of rules the world for us. And your bosses, your editors, will say that very bluntly. Wala akong pakialam kung atinista ka at ikaw ang pinakamagaling magsulat dito at may masteral ka sa kung saan paaralan. Kung late yung storya mo, hindi yan Erik. So ano pa sasagot mo? Hipo. Yun, so in terms of mistakes, one mistake that I learned for myself was, I came into the job thinking I could save the world and you should all do super important big stories, and that I assumed that everyone would had not met Aling Barangket. Chiara. So, ang daming, so yan, yung my mentors, sila Patrick Paez, Edwin Gao, at Makati. Yung mga meetings, mga planning, what ideas do you have? Tapos ako, ang favorite ko na, mga environmental stories and indigenous people. Sa loob-loob ko, parang, who wouldn't want to listen about illegal logging and the plight of the Aitas? Or diba, hindi ba durog ang mga puso nyo? Tapos parang sila, but it wasn't because they were heartless. It's just, again, because you have to balance it out. The things, the stories you want to share with the things that people will accept. Because you're not just doing it for yourself. It's all for them. So, pero parang di ko rin naman kaya yung gumawa ng storya tungkol sa mga yung batang parang may kambal na sawa, mga ganun. Parang it's amazing siguro, pero hindi ko kaya. So parang, saan ako lulugar? Ganun ulit. Yung speak their language. And hanggang sa hindi na nila mahalata na may tinuturo ka na palang bago. I've managed to do indigenous people stories. And they've enjoyed it, and also environmental stories. Kasi hindi naman pwedeng you shove it down their throats, mga statistics about how many trees have been cut, and yung pag-aksaya mo ng tubig ay essentially kasalanan mo lahat kung ba't nagugunaw ang mundo. Hindi pwedeng gano'n. Paikot-ikutan mo naman, gano'n. Tapos kinita mo yung daan, tapos saka mo, so yun, again, yung understand your audience. Kasama na sila sa planning. Hindi lang sila yung sa dulo na bahala na kayo, ito yung basta, ito yung lilabas namin. Kasama si Barang sa meeting. May siyang chair doon. May merienda din siya. Hindi pa siya nag-lunch ng tayo. Yun. The other mistakes, I think, which I hate are because of the deadlines, you come to work with templates in your pocket.
Yeah.
Parang, this requires template C. That's fill in the blanks. A lot of people still do that. It does the job. They write much faster than I do. So editors kind of love them for that. Because they hate me kasi ako yung laging late. Saan na naman? Okay, I'm that dude in the newsroom. But I can't, and we shouldn't. Kasi there are tons of ways to tackle a story. To even siguro take a photo of this glass of water. From the bottom, from the top, sa likod, through the glass, it's the same glass of water that we're all seeing. But each one of you, I'll bet, can take a photo of this in different ways. And that's storytelling. Mahirap sa amin kasi we have that reality, the truth that we have to stick with. Diba? Parang, di ako pwede humiram ng aswang kay Erik na parang para laban niya yung hold up. Pero yung gano'n, parang, ito I have to deal with what I have. So, nainggit nga ako magdala ako ng mga pelikula. Gusto ko yun ganyan.
My last question before audiences can ask. It's sort of a twofold question, like what are you doing now? And summarizing the state of your respective industries now, like has it gotten easier since you started? What is, I guess, the most difficult thing you're doing right now? And if you can tease like what you've learned from your current projects. And just ask Erik, you can be the last, since it will transition to whatever you're gonna show. Yeah.
Well, the big thing that's happening in advertising is that everything's moving online. So it's been going on for years, but essentially now, we're moving from an age of broadcast, although it's still stronger here than in other countries, moving from an age of broadcast to an age of theoretically an age of interaction and two-way communication between brands and audiences, between publishers and audiences, and we're in that, and you can see that in the currently, Facebook is now turning into the sort of the default media channel for a lot of advertisers. So that's good in some ways. There's also a lot of unintended consequences, I think, coming from that, and there's things about how brands can show up in places they shouldn't be showing up. You see ads, programmatic ads for brands, like hilariously sometimes, next to, you see ads for, plumbing services next to reports of like floods or something like that. You see this terrible kind of automatic programmatic buying that ends up like that. And then you see, we've all been pretty much concerned with this problem that people read what they want to read and they hear what they want to hear, and that they create their own filter bubbles, so they have friends who like the things that they like and they never see any opposing views, so your kind of news feed on Facebook ends up reinforcing your opinions rather than changing anything. So that's worrying, but I think, there's hope, I think, that we can all get beyond it, but there's, this ideal of objective information is under threat. I think that we don't really know what we're reading, who we're reading it from, and it's almost becoming like advertisers the most honest thing you can actually see, because actually we have to deal with our own system of self-regulation where you can't really say something overtly false about another brand or about the situation, whereas in news, or what purports to be news, it can sometimes just be completely made up, online. So we have this issue where people are maybe starting to live in a slightly detached reality from each other. It's been quite sort of explored in the States and everything. So we can see that's going to be a challenge for all of us going forward. I think what we're doing about it, trying to tell good stories, trying to make create projects that do good in themselves, that do get brands to do actual things in the world beyond advertising, to actually create useful things for people. We did a project with Pepsi a few years ago where they distributed bottle lights with the Light Foundation, and this is the kind of activities that brands can get to do that is beyond just putting out billboards or putting out commercials. It's actually going and doing useful things for people. So we're trying to make brands be useful, we're trying to make them contribute, we're trying to work with, trying to make, I guess, what we do more than an interruption, but something that people will seek out and enjoy. So those are the challenges we're facing, and it's a constant struggle to try and make things that people want to engage with, that are useful to people, that make people happy. I think there is still a sense that we're incredibly lucky to be doing what we're doing, and we go to work every day pretty happy that we are doing it. But it's those are the issues we're facing now. Just the complete transformation of media. It's happening in kind of slow motion. It's like an accident. You can see it happening in slow motion. You kind of don't quite know what's going to happen with it, but there is, you're hoping you're going to be okay at the end of it. And I think there is a big revolution going on. It's just happening slight slow motion. Sorry.
I'll switch muna with you, since David sort of alluded to fake news and everything. How is that for you now, especially with covering Marawi, and you see online the proliferation of fake news, especially with the things that you cover? How is that working out for you right now?
Atras ko lang ng konti na yung people who do documentaries usually have some kind of yabang against people who do news, kasi creatively parang they just, and I also felt that the same. That's why I didn't switch to news until I absolutely felt that I had to, just because yung parang creatively their stories are not nice to look at. It's just basic stuff. Yeah. Wide, medium, tight, close-up. Pag umiyak na si Lola, extreme close-up. Tapos biglang slow mo yung mga batang kakaway sa dulo. Parang, no, ayoko yan. Anyway. But I'm glad that I decided also to shift to news without necessarily letting go of documentaries, because it really made me understand the value of it, of updating people. Alam mo, it's a minor miracle. I see this all the time. Na makabuo ng isang buong newscast. Then makabuo ka lang ng isang story. Feeling ko minsan milagro na siya dahil never kang nagkakaroon ng araw na madali. Yung lahat ng, syempre you come to work, pag may storya ka, you have an idea how it might turn out, but it never ever turns out that way. Yung bigla na lang, a simple interview can become a shouting match, or you're exclusive, suddenly yung biglang magbaback out yung interview mo, stuff like that, and then people will lie to you. I thought people were nice. I thought we were all taught by your parents to tell the truth and not hurt others. There are just so many evil people out there. They will try to lie to you through me, by lying to me. So it's my job to not be stupid, so they don't get to you. Ganon, especially now with fake news, kasi dati, diba, dati, the evening newscast was the only source of news for everyone. You could all live your lives, and by 6:30, upo ka lang and we'll tell you stuff. And then you move on, and then we meet again at 6:30 the next night. But now with social media, with the internet, dati nag-start yon na kami pa rin yun. We update with your help na parang, oy, nasusunog yung kalsada namin. Oh, may nandito yung si criminal number order. And then yun, the evil people, the liars, they realize na, oh, we can do this too. So enter yung hashtag fake news. And because, ayan nga, sila Aling Barang, hirap din sila to discern. Na just, kasi if it comes out on a fancy screen, it should be true, right? Kasi it's fancy and it's on a screen. Diba? And ang hirap ipigilan na, ang hirap kausapin ng lahat na hindi po yan, hindi yan totoo. O hindi totoo ako, yung hindi ako dilawan. Parang, dahil na parang, alam mo, parang ka-DDS, hindi kita kaaway. Yung mga gano'n. Kaya sakit sa bangs. Kaya wala ako bangs. Yun, lalo na sa, say sa Marawi, di ba, it's hard enough to not die and to still be on camp for the newscast, di ba? And then when you go online, pag nakahanap ka ng signal, you still all get all that, dapat news blackout na kasi yan, ba't nandiyan naman yung mga dilawan? Dapat di nyo pinapakita yung position ng soldiers because there's some fancy Google terminology na parang, ang tanga-tanga nyo, ABS-CBN. Thank you, man. And then the more you're not even sure anymore if you're speaking to real people. Kasi parang, ako napapagod, ba't siya hindi pa? Parang go pa siya makipag-exchange. Is this a troll? Is this just a very angry person that I need to engage with? So, wala, you just have to. So dun ko na-realize na it's really important that we stick to what we do and not fall into the trap of just engaging with hate. You engage with them at some point. Pero you'll realize na there are lots of people who don't want to listen. They just want to intimidate you or piss you off. And then you stop and then you just keep doing what you're doing. Right now, yun nahihirapan kami ngayon sa Marawi kasi habang yung military is saying na lumiliit na from 6 barangays, 4 barangays na lang, 2 barangays na lang. Ito na sila, lumuluhan na sila, ganyan. 2 mosque na lang. Yung barricades for the media, umaatras naman, na parang isang araw na bigla na lang nasa Kapitolyo na lang kami ng Marawi. Oh!
Hindi na kayo lumapit ka.
Parang yung LUH, look! Hindi na tayo lahat. Ano gagawin natin dito? Tapos parang hindi mo na makita yung battlefield. Hanggang ngayon, ganun yung problema. Tapos, and then they just give you guided tours na kapag may parang media, meet po tayo dito ng 8:30 kasi may pupuntahan po tayo. Tapos parang sa mga brigada eskwela na yung nagwawalis ng school. Okay naman, magalis tayo. Pero parang may gera, di ba? Yun yung, kaya kami nandito, di ba? Kasi may gera sa kabila, di ba? And then they tell you na parang, alam niyo namang delikado eh. Alam niyo namang, pag kinunan yung mga sundalo, makikilala yung mukha. You're short of saying, you kill our soldiers every time you cover. Not short of saying, we've been told that. We've been accused of killing, I think, 2 Marines for 1 day because of covering. And then si Mocha, dinala nila kahapon doon sa battle area. Oo, si Guerrero. Tapos nakakabay na kayong fatigue siya. Yung parang Uniqlo-ish. Tapos, kasi kami, when we do stories, it's lahat ng pictures, lahat ng videos, delayed yan. Because I have to make sure that the soldier I took footage of is no longer there by the time it airs. In case makilala ng person yung bahay na, andyan pala. Pero pagdating niya, sorry, wala na siya doon. That's a precaution that we take. And or kung magpakita ka man, yung hindi madidistinguish kung gusto mo siyang i-live. And then we blur faces, minsan yung boses, anything. Yung at the expense sometimes of the quality of the coverage. Pero kung buhay ang kapalit, we're fine with that. And then, yun, sa Kapitolyo coverage na kami. And then they let yung Mocha inside the battle area. And then she blogs about the whole scene na parang may picture pa siya na parang guess where it is. Tapos parang, it ba tawag niya sa sarili niya? Parang guess where it is. God, she's inside. And then yun na, she violated all of the things that the military was accusing us of compromising positions. She showed where the tanks were parked, where the troops were sleeping, where the sniper was. Siyempre si Tatay Digong bumaril. Anyway, ibang usapan yun. So, and then no one, wala nagreklamo, wala nagalit, walang nagsabi na pinatay mo ka ang mga sundalo. And then, yung heading nung she parang edited a video, tapos yung start parang tayo ang media ni Tatay Digong. So, okay. So what do you do? Parang yes. So what we did was wala mo ng competition. GMA, ABS, TV5, CNN. We wrote a letter to the AFP and the DND. I delivered the letter yesterday to parang push back na. Parang, uy, sobra na kayo. Kasi, I think they've already forgotten that we're not there for the heck of it. That we're not there to do some fancy shows for entertainment. We are there because we're duty bound to be there. Because you deserve to know what's going on out there. Because the people there deserve some help from you guys. We just all have to stay informed. And I think a lot of them have forgotten that. Also because martial law muscle is now being flexed in Marawi. So, I don't know, baka bawal namin sa Kapitolyo after lang matanggap yung letter, diba? Or, it could work. But, ganon nakahalaga yung totoong media ngayon. Ganon nakahalaga yung trabaho namin. It got all the more dangerous with social media. Who would have thought? Parang I get threats na parang sana mamatay ka rin, sana ma-rape ka dyan. Bakit? Parang, anong ginawa ko? Parang, wala, we just have to stay at it. And siguro yung audience, tulungan din kayo to discern ano yung totoo, ano yung hindi. Just help each other out, ituro nyo na ito, hindi ito totoo eh. Downer.
Wala na. Currently, sa films, ang main namin na problema, siyempre, distribution. But beyond that, atras pa ako, it's not just distribution, it's really being able to show as many types of films in our cinemas. Which, syempre nandyan na yung argument lagi, indie versus mainstream. Pero hindi naman yun yung point yung mainstream and the indie. The main point really is, if we can show as many kinds of films sa cinemas natin. One, for audience development. Two, to keep our cinema progressive every time. Kasi we're stuck with the same kinds of stories, no? And of course, chicken or the egg. We're stuck with the same stories, but those are the same stories that also make money. So parang the demand is there, so a lot of the producers also come back to the same kind of stories, no? Just tweaking it a bit doing different versions of it. Pero practically, parang pare-pareho lang siya. So, that's where we are now. Personally, why I'm in that fight is because my movies aren't the kind of movies that are shown in the cinemas. And I'm probably lucky in the last 4 or 5 years that my movies get wide release. But kahit na hindi kami blockbuster, pero swerte ako. No? But a lot of the stories that are made on cinema also deserve wider distribution, deserve to be seen by as many. No? And I think timing yung talk na to because PPP, there's PPP that's showing now, di ba? That's an answer. Partly, FDCP, the Film Development Council of the Philippines, would say this is not an answer to the Metro Manila Film Festival kicking out the independent cinema from there. It's a totally different project, but I think with the results of the box office, you can see how far behind the August play date of Pista in terms of earnings. Pista earned probably 140 million compared to what Metro Manila Film Fest always earns during Christmas, where people have more money during Christmas. And of the 140 million, 80 to 90 100 million of that went to just one film. And of course, hindi niya kasalanan yun, no? Na kumita siya. But again, the remaining 40 million is divided between 11 movies. So, ang liit nun, ang liit ng kinita nila. And Patay na si Jesus probably made the most money of the 11. So, if Patay na si Jesus got 20 million, so that's 20 million divided between 10 films. Diba? So, yun. So, yan yung mahirap. Of course, it again underlined the idea na independent cinema is not marketable. It's not. Why are you asking us for more distribution circuits? Pero we all knew, industry people knew that August, Ghost Month, is a bad month. Nobody shows. When you want to kill your competition, you show the movie during August. Walang nanonood sa August. No one has money during August. I don't know why. Okay? Aside from Ghost Month, pero walang pera yung tao. No? So, OTJ, our first on the job, was shown in August. And yun yung sinabi ng lahat, yun, kasi pinalabas nyo sa post money, walang nanood eh. So yun, so we formed the group maybe 3 weeks ago, built filmmakers, not just directors, but designers, actors, staff people, so that we could collectively discuss certain issues in the industry. And it's hard to bring them all together, but we're slowly doing it. We're starting with probably 50 members. We have a statement na pinagtulungan ni Philbert, nagpatulong kami kay Philbert. We have a statement that we're bringing out. Yung 15 hindi pa nagre-respond doon sa, baka busy doon sa pista. It's probably 5 days and there's only a few who said, okay, go. So we're waiting for the response on that. And parang pare-pareho yung problema. Advertising and even sa news. Times are changing. There's Netflix that's kinda taking the audience from the cinemas, and you can't blame them because the cinemas only show, like in the US for example, only the tentpole stuff are shown, the big Marvel movies. So nawalan ng venue yung small movies, $4 million to $20 million, and then the $20 million to $70 million movies na wala na kayong napapanood ng mga crime thrillers, you're not seeing domestic dramas, or nawala na lahat yon because they only wanna show. So, they only wanna show the superhero stuff. So ngayon, napunta na sa Netflix. And locally, there's a clamor to do that as well, no? To go into that. But who will bankroll that platform? We have locally, we have Hope, we have iFlix, we have Netflix, and that's it, no?
Sa TBA.
The Click ba yun?
Click is the SM.
Yeah, there's Click, and pero again, it's mostly showing the old stuff, and no one's producing the movies. When they're producing the movies, they're producing it on indie budget, and you can't ask people to watch, subscribe, and then you can't offer anything premium, diba? So that's where we are. That's why we have On the Job 2 as a movie and as a series. We started negotiating for a series only, and then eventually decided to start with the movie and then segue into a series, primarily because, number one, we don't know how we can bring the traffic into the online platform, but at the same time, we are also scared to be doing it on a low budget, and then people will not be interested to see it at all. So, nandun yung problema. And of course, the audience also has to demand, no? The audience has to demand for different kinds of films, not just the same kind of movies. Kasi kayo rin naman your voices are the ones that are analyzed, heard, diba? Kayo yung nasa mga tests, and so kayo rin dapat should demand for better films. And nandun ngayon yung cinema natin. And we don't know in the next few years what's gonna happen. There's so many Filipino movies being made. Don't get me wrong, it's not like konti lang yung ginagawa. So many movies that not a lot of them are being seen. And not just locally, but internationally. A lot of the films are also hoping for international festivals. But there's just so many Filipino films that are being made that even the international film festivals don't have enough time to see it and say, okay, we want you in our slate. We want you in our slate. So, ganon. Nag-boom yung sine, pero walang nakakapanood. Isn't it painful for a filmmaker that you made a film and then kapatid mo lang laging ganda ng pelikula ni Kuya. Ganda ng movie ni Kuya. Grabe, panoorin natin. Talaga. Diba? Parang pareho lang kayo lahat nagkakagusto. Kayo-kayo lang magkakaibigan. Diba? Mahirap. Yan.
Thanks. I think with that, you brought us something from our upcoming movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mahirap to do a movie now. We were discussing I was drinking with filmmakers a week ago, and we were discussing that it's tough to do films nowadays without commenting on what's happening in the country. Diba? Kasi parang pag gumawa ka bigla ng comedy, kwela, na parang tungkol lang sa swimming pool or mga bikini babes or ano, parang grabe naman to, wala namang pakialam to sa nangyayari. Nagkakapatayan na dun sa syudad, di ba? Mga bikini pa yung ginawa niyang kwento. So it's tough. Also, if you become too current, nakakatakot din kasi people would look at you as exploitative. Okay, just to tell you about this, Bypass came out of On the Job 1, the concept. I was shooting in Caloocan, where most of the killings happen now. I was shooting in Caloocan, and I was at the heart of the squatters area. And then we encountered an altercation between us and the tenants of the place because we were doing a take and someone answered the phone in the middle of the take, a tenant. And then one of our guys shushed him. Quiet, 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 quiet. We're doing a take. And he fought back. He said, why should we keep quiet? This is our place, blah, 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 blah. And then he went inside the house. Of course, we brought our staff member out of the place already. And then when he came back, he had the knife and he was looking for... And I was sitting there. Of course, I was trying to finish the shoot. You were there. You went to that shoot? That same place. Oh, remember? Last day, di ba? Oh. We were supposed to shoot for 5 days there. We only did it for 3 days, and then I said, let's move to another place. So I was there. He was going around with his friends, 2 other friends, looking for the guy who asked him to keep quiet. And I was thinking, how can I get out of this place? The place was like a labyrinth of alleys and estero, and I didn't know how to get out. So I was so scared. And then eventually I asked our production manager, can you get the tanod guys to come in? So he brought in the tanod with the police guys. There's a police precinct right outside the place. And they were on long arm. So I was rushing to finish it around 12 midnight, 1. I said, okay, let's pack this up. Let's move to another place in the next shoot. And then let's not finish it here. So that stuck with me. What if, so this came about by Bust. It's a simple real-time story, not a lot of heavy, multi-layer stories. It's just like, I see it more as an essay of what's happening now. An essay meaning, mahirap eh, kasi there's just so many views on it that I'm so scared to talk about my ideas about what's happening in the country on a film, because it's just, everyone's polarized about the issues and everyone has an opinion about it. So I'm just scared to show it. Baka mali-mali yung mga kwan, pero you just have to bring yourself out there. So we're showing you a teaser. We pre-sold the film. I was telling David a while ago, we have doubled the number of shoots already, and we've doubled the shoots, the shoot of this already, but we've pre-sold the film to North America and the global. We've sold it based on this teaser. We showed this teaser to a few distributors in the US and in Canada and in Europe. And we made this for their launch in Cannes just last May. We're not releasing it on the mainstream. This is just 5 days worth of shoot of the movie. We haven't done much during that time. And listen to, I'll discuss later who was narrating it and where did we get the voice and the text. There's a text to it. They're still struggling with the...
yeah.
Pati yung mag-edit ako.
Natakot siya.
Natakot na niya kami.
It stars Ann Curtis, Brandon Bear.
Spin-off siya ng OTG.
No, the idea came from while shooting OTJ. It's a totally different. People buy bust operation gone wrong. Inside a... You're not gonna see it here because this is what we call a sizzle reel. That's how you sell stories that's how you sell movies abroad. They don't really care about the story. They just see they want to see the quality of the film, and so they don't care about who is the lead actor or okay, andyan na.
Pero no phones pa to. Bawal.
No phones, ha?
Please.
Da-
Recording.
Okay, because we're not releasing it until the buyer. This was bought. This is a copy of. We made this for Wellgo USA. So Wellgo will launch it on their own in North America, and until they do that, we're not allowed to release anything.
So, please no phones. Tapos can we turn off the
Lights,
lights
please.
lang?
Yeah.
Patayin
Para
na
everyone
natin
can
yun.
see it.
We don't the showing. We can show the film, but after showing it, we only have 90 days, and we can't touch it for the next 5 years.
I think yung lights yan.
That's for the global sale. The global sale, they bought the film, and for 90 days, we can do whatever we want with it. They're buying it even if they don't know what the movie is and if it sucks or if it's good. So after 90 days, you're not gonna touch it for 5 years. We're gonna give back your movie after 5 years. We're gonna exploit the movie globally for 5 years.
Sige. Since walang lights, we can just play it.
Okay.
But please no phones, no recording.
Dalawa na yung teaser na ginawa namin, puro X lahat. So, I still don't know how we're gonna show it theatrically, locally, but let's see. Maybe we can take out some stuff.
Walang matitira.
The words are by Pete Lacaba from a play of Bertolt Brecht, a German play that he translated into Filipino. Transcribed, adapted into Filipino. And the voice is by Chel Diokno. Yeah. Thank you.
That's all the time we have. I just wanna give a round of applause again to our panelists. And I was just told that there are complimentary Rogue magazines outside.
Yay!
Yeah. The best magazines ever. Thank you. Thank you.
A photo of the five. Sama ko. Pagkabalik yung mga ko. Sama ka na. Ay, may ano na wala.
Dito ka kaya siya.
Sama ka? Hindi. Ay,
You see the voice of actor?
Acting.
Pwede yun.
And then we try Chel, and then am I just gonna read it? Yeah.
Somebody who actually felt it, right?
Really good.
Can we just move forward a little for the photo? Because of the blue light.